Well, that's not supposed to happen. This isn't the mistake that I'm worried about. One wrong measurement and I have to rebuild an entire cabinet. Didn't catch it standing in this room, didn't catch it when I was measuring, but I caught it in Fusion. That's why I model all my cabinet projects before I even cut a single piece of plywood. First glance looks like a simple laundry room, but every cabinet forced a different design decision. Bad decision can be costly. So before I built a single cabinet, I had a couple of problems or issues that I had to figure out. And if I get one wrong, it's going to make another one wrong. I just draw a precise dimension of the room. That way I get an accurate representation of everything before I start building. Pretty straightforward layout, but every cabinet position depends on the other cabinet position. First I place the sink base because I want it centered under the window. And the trash rollout is dependent on the sink base. Scribe of the trash rollout needs to be even with the door face on the sink. You ever build a cabinet box and look at it and say, I don't think that's going to work, and have to take it apart and rebuild it all over again? Yeah, me neither. Hope you picked up on that sarcasm. Now here's the mistake that we fixed or avoided. Traditional Lazy Susan corner cabinet is going to fit here, so we have to go with the blind corner cabinet. Now it's obvious that this is not wide enough. Easy enough to fix. We just go to the parameters, find the blind width parameter, increase it by 14 inches, makes it 22 inches wide overall. Now it's out of place, so we just have to move the component over 14 inches. And once again, Fusion pays for itself. Placing these in Fusion allows us to find out if our style and our scribe are going to be the right width, so that when drawers open, the hardware won't interfere with each other, which we find out at the end of the video. Now we can spin around here to the corner, and this is where we're going to put our Creative Director requested cabinet. Makes it really convenient for hanging clothes right out of the dryer. That way they don't get wrinkled. I just modified one of my regular tall cabinets and put a drawer at 72 inches high as directed by the Creative Director. Check my clearances on my finished panels and my scribes. Fusion really helps me get a good bird's eye view of what the cabinets are going to look like. Now I can see putting in this blind corner cabinet and this tall cabinet to make sure that the scribe is going to be good. And from the top you see that I had to make this tall cabinet only 8 inches deep. If we'd have made it 24 inches, there'd been no room in here. Well, unfortunately, this pile of parts hasn't turned itself into a CNC. That means the chances of me making blind dados manually is pretty remote. So now I got a problem how I'm going to put these cabinets together. That's when another guy suggested to me Confirmat screws. Let's don't get ahead of ourselves. We still need to make a parts list. Now I have two ways I go about this. First, I'll show you how I use my optimizer. I turn off visibility for the parts that I don't need, and I export into a CSV file. That I import into the optimizer. In the optimizer, I import the CSV and generate my cut list. My generated cut list can be sorted any way I want, but I go by thickness of the material. That way I know which sheet goods I'm dealing with. Then I sort it by width. I like processing my sheet goods this way because it lets me make all my rip cuts first before moving on to cross cuts. Now that we've got it all sorted, I send it out to a CSV, or I could just print it. But I open a CSV up in Excel, and then I can change this as needed. Then the cut list is ready for the shop. My second option is my cabinet builder program. I just take all my cabinet dimensions into here, create a job, establish the units and the cabinet types, establish the defaults for cabinet dimensions, drawers, and doors. Select the cabinets that I'm going to be building, enter the Fusion created dimensions, and create a cut list. And this can be sorted any way you want as well, and exported or printed. Now that I got my cut list, we're going to go make some parts. I start by ripping all my stuff to size, and then I cross cut it. I use pre-finished birch or maple for my interior parts, and shop grade plywood for nailers and backing. Now who doesn't need an edge bander in their shop? And eventually, a big old stack of parts. This is a Confirmat screw. It's a little bit bigger and heftier than your standard screw, and it's essentially a small steel dowel. And you need this special step drill bit to install. I like to do all my shelf pin holes while the cabinet is apart, and this takes forever. Wish I could do it this fast. Also makes it easier to install the hinges when you don't have a box put together. It's a lot faster and gives me much better access than trying to work inside a completed cabinet. For the clothes hanger drawer, we're going to have to install this drawer slide before we put the bottom on it. I'll clamp some blocks in place before setting the height of the bottom. And then I'm going to proceed to try some Confirmats. Not entirely sure how this is going to go. Tiny bit apprehensive. But when I put in that first screw and cinch it tight, I was sold. I think I'm a Confirmat convert. Check for a shiner and we're good. Now here's the completed clothes hanger drawer, and I actually checked to make sure it's square. So I just built this great big beautiful box. Guess what I forgot to do? If you think you know, put it in the comments. I'll reveal at the end. And here's where you find out whether or not all your planning actually worked. Looks like designing everything in Fusion paid off. That's because the first time I built this room, I didn't do it in the shop. And it looks like 2-inch scribes and styles works perfectly for the clearance on these drawers. My standard tall cabinet's 24 inches deep. Problem was, if I kept this cabinet at its standard depth, there wouldn't have been a lot of room in here. Do you remember when I asked you if I'd missed anything? It was this cabinet. Yep, shelf pinholes. But look how fast the fix went. Remember that cabinet that was almost a problem? We saved ourselves a little bit of money and also, more importantly, time. That was just the benefit of good design in Fusion. Gives you a chance to fix it while it's just pixels on a screen. Now we're going to head into the kitchen for my next project. Something I've never done before. See you real soon.